Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. We are from Group 11 and we would like to present our issues, which is the smartphone addiction, the impact on psychological. And our group consists of me, myself, Muhammad Izzah bin Abdullah, PB18040, and my team's members, which is the Wang Ziyuan and also Nur Shahira binti Omar. Okay, so before I would like to continue with my parts. So the presentation today will be divided into four parts, which is the introduction, analysis of the issues, impact, and lastly will be end with the conclusion and also solution. Okay, now let's start with definition of the smartphone and also addiction. So according to Oxford dictionaries, a smartphone can be referred to as a mobile phone that can perform many of the functions of a computer, and it's typically have a touch screen interface, internet access, and also an operating system that can capable of running any download application. Next, in terms of the addiction can be defined as the dependence on a substance or activity. And lastly, the combination between the smartphone and addiction, can be referred as the lack of control to use the smartphone despite adverse effect, including the financial, psychological, and physical, and also its social harmful consequence on users. Okay, basically, there's no end to the purpose of smartphone application, where the function of it can be ranged from entertainment to communication purpose and also as an information seeking platform. So for the entertainment, it's often including gaming, web surfing, and watching and listening to stream content. While for the communication purpose, it is often including to connect to friends, family, and co-workers via social media apps or even through specialized communication application for checking email, instant messaging, and also voice over internet protocol, which is VoI protocol calling. And lastly, for the information seeking platforms, it can be used to find a local and destination information or even the information related to any academic and business pursuits. Okay, next we would like to take a look on the statistic of ICT use by individuals in Malaysia. So according to the Department of Statistics Malaysia, so the percentage of individuals who are using mobile phones remain at 97.9% in 2019, while the percentage of individuals who use the internet was increased from 81.2% in 2018 to 84.2% in 2019. And next, the percentage of individuals who use the computers was increased by 1.6% from 2018 to 2019, which is equal to 72.1%. So even though there is a constant percent of individuals who use the mobile phone in both years, which is the 2018 and 2019, but still the smartphone usage was still higher compared the smartphone usage percentage was still higher compared to other ICT services and equipment. Okay, however, the effect of excessive use of smartphone are raising serious concern among health and educational authorities due to its negative effects of its prolonged usage, especially among adolescents. So, for example, the excessiveness of smartphone usage among adolescents can further leading to health problem with cognitive emotion regulation, impulsivity, impaired cognition function, addiction to social networking, shyness, and also causing a low self-esteem. Moreover, people who use the smartphone excessively also tend to face on several of the common medical problems such as having a sleep problem, lack in performing physical fitness for their health, unhealthy eating habits, or even being affected with headache or migraines. So further analysis of these issues will be presented by my team members after this.
My name is Wang Ziyun, PC19047. Now I will continue my part about the analysis problem. So, according to Chiang Chen's article, a growing body of literature has investigated the influence of psychological elements such as sadness, loneliness, anxiety, stress, self-esteem, and life satisfaction on a smartphone or social media. Smartphone overuse and the psychological symptoms associated with it constitute a form of behavioral addiction known as smartphone addiction. So, now I will continue. What is the perspective of this problem? The probability of teenagers becoming addicted to smartphone has tended to increase with stress from studying, which also consistent with the finding of previous studies. Adolescents in Korea face a high level of stress as a result of factors such as education system emphasis on the college scholastic ability test, which is called CSAT. There are high expectations from the parent or instructor and several rivalry among classmates. To relieve tension, people frequently utilize device smartphone material from an extended of type which may lead to smartphone addiction. Is what shows as the Korean adolescents use their smartphone for 8.5 hours per day on an average. Whereas 35.2% are spent on recreational activities such as games, videos, music, ebooks. Adults using a smartphone for leisure activities and communication may momentarily relieve academic stress. Actually, it is also connected with a low academic achievement and a productivity for smartphone addiction. For example, as academic stress is unavoidable in the Korean educational environment, the primary goal will be to mitigate its negative effects by properly responding to such stress in order to prevent smartphone addiction. Continue. Another which is using the smartphone addiction will be decreased on the concentration, which is like what the slide is written. Smartphone addicts tend to neglect work and study, separate themselves from friends and family, and remain attachment to the smartphone while over depending to communicate with each other. Next, the bullying. Internet bullying is an external issue that influences smartphone addiction. Bullying victimization was discovered to be another risk factor for smartphone addiction. This is consistent with the finding of other research which found that teenagers' exposure to school bullying is a risk factor for smartphone. Internet and gaming addiction. Adolescents who have been bullied at school prefer to engage in online connection where they may be anonymous and unpressured, as they seek psychological satisfaction for dissatisfied social relationship in the real world, which will be increased likelihood of smartphone addiction. Bullying victims, a sort of school violence, in particular result in poor psychological adaptation, such as negative view of pro-social peer behavior, internet issue, and relationship hostility. Next, the theories and principles of psychological or behavioral science that related to the smartphone addiction. Next, there are two theories and principles of psychology or behavioral science that related to the smartphone addiction when we are finding the analysis. Firstly, problematic smartphone use, which is called PSU. It is a psychological hypothesis connected to smartphone addiction. PSU is a complicated problem that includes a variety of dysfunctional expressions, which, for example, social isolation, low self-esteem, sadness, and anxiety. But actually, it is not a possible behavioral addiction. Smartphone may have adverse effect on the human brain and related psychological processes. Various types of smartphone use disorders have been discovered based on mental symptoms, some of which are connected with internet communication, particularly as PSU. is associated with depression and self-esteem. The most significant predictors of PSU include self-control, anxiety, despair, and specific group of individuals with may require particular care to prevent PSU. Unsociable people may rely on smartphones in order to connect with and receive assistance from other users, potentially leading to a confrontation with PSU. Next, behavioral addiction and pathological personality traits clarified depression and anxiety association with PSU. It is related dysfunctional mechanism and motivation processes, impacting subjective and psychological well-being. Physical negative effects are rooted in excessive smartphone use. However, addictive smartphone behavior may resemble addiction as regard immoderate use. Impulse control issues and adverse effects without being a disorder with serious consequences on physical and psychological health. For example, smartphone texting is associated with a more immobile and more tense spinal position in contrast to desktop computer typing. Concerning smartphone and social platform adoption, positive results are associated with social capital and involvement, while detrimental consequences develop out of excessive use, negative correlation, and the anxiety of being perpetually active. According to cognitive theory, smartphone addiction is caused by faulty belief and schemata. Finally, an integrated viewpoint holds that a smartphone addiction is caused by a mix of psychological, cultural, social, environmental, and emotional factors.
My name is Roshai Rabita Omar, so I will proceed with the impact of smartphone addiction on each individual. The emergence of information technology and internet facilities have drastically affected almost every facet of human life. Currently, it is greatly evident in the way of teaching and learning. Nowadays, smartphones have become a part of every person's life globally. People around the world have adopted this new and exciting technology as one of the most important required facility in their everyday life. Globally, the explosion of smartphones and its related devices have greatly transformed teaching and learning in developed nations, where developing nations are not the exception. However, it has several drawbacks, especially toward the individual. This has a low academic performance and a negative impact on health performance, and also inability to distinguish between valid and invalid information. Studies on smartphone use have shown that among smartphone users, 20% of smartphone users report difficulties with school or work due to excessive smartphone use. Previous research suggests that excessive smartphone use in the classroom can inhibit academic performance and found negative effect on excessive smartphone use on student academic performance through the decline in GPA score. An article by Robert and Yaya and Manolis in 2014 found that cell phone addiction can negatively influence academic performance as student attention in class is disrupted because of cell phone use, and such disruption affect their studies outside of the class, supported by other study where excessive mobile phone use has been associated with distraction in the classroom. These studies reveal that in-class texting produce significant negative effect on student academic performance. We have discussed smartphone addiction in terms of student multitasking in the classroom and the effect of this multitasking on student academic performance. Finding on the consequences of multitasking with the smartphone on academic performance also shows a negative relationship between student problematic mobile phone use and academic performance. Another study on the same topic also showed that sending text message and checking on social media websites like Facebook while performing an academic task or doing homework interfered with completing their schoolwork and negatively impact the participants' overall GPA. Next is effect on health performance. The result indicate that depression, anxiety, and sleep quality may be associated with smartphone overuse. Such overuse may lead to depression or anxiety, which can then result in sleep problems, making the person will show up the next day with fatigue and less energy. One research also found that the relationship between smartphone addiction and university students, where it stated that university students with high depression and anxiety scores should be carefully monitored for their smartphone usage. This is because most of them experience fatigue, headache, dizziness, tension, and sleep disturbance due to smartphone overuse. Lastly, according to the researchers' early analysis, despite the smartphone's significant educational benefit, students choose to use it for social media platforms such as Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Tango, rather than for educational purpose. Those who use smartphone, on the other hand, are distracted by other notification service. One should be aware and conscious while using it unless they can easily involve themselves in negative activity. This will lead them into socially unacceptable behavior, sensation seeking, and also low impulse control. Recently, social media such as Twitter act as a fast platform to exchange information from everyone everywhere. It also provides a great potential of spreading malicious rumors and hatred easily reaching its users. Thus, we need to be aware of all the details and posting that we read on those platforms, as it could bring a negative impact if it is being used wrongly. That is all for impact on individual.
Next, we will continue to discuss what is the smartphone addiction that has bringing impact in family. We found that the parent-child estrangement, which is family brokenness, may increment the hazard of adolescents' smartphone compulsion, as the parent-child relationship acted as a crucial catalyst for smartphone compulsion and was adversely related to it. Different child-rearing styles might provoke children to act in an unexpected way in terms of the utilization of smartphone, whereas the parent-child relationship seems to contrarily foresee youngsters' smartphone compulsion.
For the social impacts, the smartphone does have a severe impact on our relationship with the ones we meet regularly or even with whom we have lived in. So this smartphone addiction can cause the real communication and engagement to become unrealistic, which further can cause the actual relationship between our nearest social circles to grow weaker in the course of time. This is because adolescents who are addicted to the smartphone tend to have a poor social interaction since they might not have or even having a smaller attachment to their families or friends, especially when they are not involved in any kind of bonding activities, which further can lead these young adolescents to keep attached to their smartphone at all time. Besides that, the excessive use of smartphone and the nature of being connected to internet anytime and anywhere also can lead the cyberbullying to become much severe, as it will be easily for people to use social media as an access ticket to throw their rude and mean comment or even spreading rumors without checking the validity and authenticity of the information that they receive. So this impact will normalize a bad communication culture by creating adolescents to have lack in manners as well as short in courtesy and also among the society. Okay, next I will pass to Shahira.
So now I will continue with the conclusion and solution of this research. Smartphones are a small but convenient tool to connect with the world with the help of internet connection. So the applications that are easy to install are helping the addiction process, intending all of them to keep up with the global modernization. One may effortlessly surf the internet using the smartphone, and there are various applications. In addition, the creation and design of this application itself aim for the user to spend their time using smartphone and the application for as long as possible. After the invention of the smartphone, Facebook, Snapchat, WhatsApp, Twitter, and many other social media have become a severe problem such that this led to addiction as the nature of human brain crave dopamine. According to Statista, the current number of smartphone users in the world today is 6.648 billion, and this means 83.96% of the world population owns a smartphone, although the number may have increased as we thought. This is because everyone are obsessed with the use of internet and their application that provide latest information and function for is life for all the user. In a nutshell of these studies, there appears to be a link between university student psychological well-being and smartphone addiction. Following that, we found that exercise rehabilitation does provide a great solution in fixing the negative behavioral effect. This method would be applied to the university student to help prevent the issues problematic smartphone usage PSU. Exercise rehabilitation suggests multiple aspects of the training process to cope with the mental craving and has been a proven method to fix several problems as it stated in behavioral addiction studies. Lastly, at the end of this study, we get to map out several addiction treatment and then analyze the effectiveness of the exercise rehabilitation. So according to some study, a common treatment option for behavioral addiction include cognitive behavioral therapy CBT, motivational intervention, and mindfulness behavioral cognitive treatment, which can be conducted separately or jointly. So the principle of this interventional approach focus on the stimulation of personal cognition and behavior and also changing feeling and thought. So firstly, cognitive behavioral approach CBT is a representative approach used to change the addictive behavior and thought. One of the most frequent treatment in psychotherapy is cognitive behavioral therapy CBT. Therefore, CBT is often being suggested as the first line therapy for depression and being done in a group settings. Group therapy is a type of psychotherapy that attempt to help individuals to cope with negative experience and behavior or manage psychological disorder. So group therapy is a treatment of psychotherapy wherein one or more mental health professionals conduct a psychotherapy to a group of people at the same time. One of the purpose of group therapy is to bring individuals around who have had comparable experience. Members of the group and therapists can aid one another by discussing information and providing suggestions. Group members can become more aware of their interpersonal behaviors, strengths, and limits through the feedback and self-observation, which is known as interpersonal learning. As a consequence, participants may feel more comfortable opening up to the group. They may also be more likely to put the behavioral adjustment they learn throughout the treatment into practice. Existential factors may lead to the member of the group getting a greater feeling of self-reliance by understanding that they are ultimately in charge of their behavior, action, and decision. These methods are proven successful. Next is motivational interviewing, MI. A condition of readiness or enthusiasm to change is referred to as a motivation. Motivational interviewing, MI, is a relatively recent cognitive behavioral method aimed at assisting patients in identifying and changing behavior that may be putting them at risk of developing health problems. Okay, it is a reasonably straightforward, honest, and supportive thought therapy based on cognitive behavioral therapy concept. So these guidelines are intended to assist the patient to understand his or her thought process related to the problem. So identifying and measuring the emotional reaction to the problem, identifying how thought and feeling interact to produce the pattern in behavior, and challenging his or her thought pattern and implement alternative behavior. MI derive its theoretical foundation from Francesca and De Clementi's theoretical model, widely known as the stage of change model. This principle defines a cycle of change that people go through when adopting a real changes, frequently up to 7 times. These stages include pre-contemplation and contemplation. In this approach, usually the professional will encourage the patient to make a positive affirmation that demonstrate a self-efficacy to reframe their thinking. The goal is to gently challenge the cognitive process that underlie the desired behavior rather than arguing the statement. Goal must be set for the individual to work toward. They must also be conscious that their current circumstances has implication. Patients should set their own goal rather than having them forced, and usually the activity that can be done is asking the patient to write out their goals to provide the therapist with significant information about how achievable these goals are and what should be changed first is significant in developing discrepancy method. The next solutions are mindfulness behavioral cognitive treatment, MBCT. MBCT is also known as Mindfulness-Based Relapse Prevention, MBRP. The Mindfulness-Based Relapse Prevention Program, MBRP, where it is a psychiatric educational intervention that combines a traditional cognitive behavioral relapse prevention technique with meditation and mindful movement. The fundamental purpose of both methods are to assist patients in tolerating uncomfortable situations such as grieving and challenging emotions like stretching and other fundamental gentle movement are example of mindful movement. This is a method that has been adapted from CBT. MBCT also include teaching and training on how to recognize and effectively modify or mindfully get over mental process, including thought suppression, aversion, and attachment, as well as meditative technique, especially in managing negative craving. The last solution are mindfulness-based relapse prevention MBRP. So, mindfulness is a spiritual practice that originates from Buddhist meditation and focus complete direct and active awareness of observed things that is maintained from one state to the next. Participants learn to enhance their perceptual distance from negative mental craving by using mindfulness practice. This method creates a therapeutic recreation, including music therapy, using drumming activity, and also art therapy to fix their addiction. It is concluded that this method is also applicable to fix any kind of disorder, including smartphone addiction. Mindfulness based relapse prevention MBRP combine cognitive behavioral relapse prevention RP technique with mindfulness training to help raise awareness and skill action in high risk setting. In recent years, mindfulness-based techniques have been used to treat a variety of mental problems, including behavioral addiction. Studies have proven that people who finish their MBRP are dealing with stress in a more adaptable and flexible way. MBRP is linked to improve cardiac vagal regulation and decrease stress or anxiety reactivity. With no doubt, it will also give a positive impact on someone associated with smartphone addiction. That is all from us. Thank you.